Today is November 24th, 2024, and welcome to the 416th episode of the Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway, and I'm the one-man host of this show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! Thanks for joining me today. Hello. Good to see you. Welcome back. As per usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I discuss tidbits, news items, industry happenings, and basically anything randomly game adjacent that's caught my eye in the last 7 days. But before I get to that, just a quick heads up. As you can tell, still alive. I don't know if you follow the weather at all. I know what a hot topic the weather can be sometimes, especially now, these days, with all the global warming and stuff going on. But here in the Pacific Northwest, I live in Seattle, and I record the show in Seattle and live my life out here. It's not usually known for things like hurricanes or cyclones or typhoons or anything. We do get earthquakes out here occasionally, and every once in a great while we'll get like a tsunami warning. Like if there's an earthquake in the ocean, maybe near Hawaii or something like that, we'll get a little tsunami warning every once in a while. But in general, pretty mild climate, pretty moderate. We get rain and clouds and stuff, but overall, it's like a pretty great place to live. And recently that's changed. We've had some pretty drastic weather lately, some real hot heat. We've had some real wet. And the craziest thing to happen to us in quite some time is that we had 2 bomb cyclones right off the coast. And I didn't really know what a bomb cyclone, I've heard of a cyclone, but I guess a bomb cyclone is one that forms really quickly. And I think the specific measurement is like the air pressure drops a certain amount of like millibars or something in a specific period of time. I guess it just means, if I'm understanding this correctly, just a really quickly forming, quickly occurring, kind of comes out of nowhere cyclone. Not one of those ones that builds up like way out in the ocean and you see it coming a mile away like they get in Florida. So we had one of those. Oh my gosh. I thought we were going to lose the roof off of our patio. It was so loud and windy. Like the noise itself was just bananas. Like it was so loud. Stuff just battering our house. Luckily, none of the trees around our house fell. No real damage to the house, which was great. I thought for sure I was going to be patching stuff up and whatever. We did lose power for like a little bit less than one whole day. So super inconvenient, and it sucked, but not that bad. But some of my friends and neighbors who are a little bit further out, I've had one friend who had no power for like 4 days in a row, and they've got kids and everything. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that must be like, so fucking awful. Just, not only just like how boring it is, but also like, if you have an electric heater, you have no heat, your food goes bad. Oh, that was the thing. We had to throw out our entire fridge full of food. Like it went bad. Our freezer stuff survived barely. But the fridge, everything had to be thrown out. That was, perishable. So that was an unplanned expense, but we survived and it was fine. And I guess it just kind of sucks because living up here in the Northwest, I always feel bad for those people in Florida who get hit with hurricanes like every year. And also I'm kind of like, gosh, if hurricanes are coming every year, why don't you guys move? It's like you get hit every single time. But I guess the shoe is on the other foot now because, I guess I can't be so superior in my no hurricane having Northwest out here because we have fucking cyclones now. So I guess I'm going to be eating that crow. And gosh, hopefully we're not going to get too many of those. But I suspect that perhaps we're seeing the beginnings of new weather patterns forming here in the Northwest. I don't know that we're going to remain as mild and calm as we traditionally have been, thanks to all the fucking global warming. So who knows? Maybe I'll be living in Cyclone Alley now, and I'll be the one asking myself, why don't I move and get the fuck out of the way of the weather? So we'll see. Fingers crossed, though. Anyway, all right, folks, let's get into the actual housekeeping of the show. Not a lot right now. Not a lot going on this week. I have a couple questions sent in by good friend John over at Gaming in the Wild, one of my favorite podcasts these days. John's a great guy. We'll get to that in a second. The only thing that really caught my eye was not even really game related. I guess everybody's just kind of taking a break right now. The holidays are coming up. We're just a couple days away from Thanksgiving, if you celebrate that here in America, or if you have other holidays coming up. You have the traditional wintertime holidays coming, Christmas and Kwanzaa and whatnot. So those are coming as well. So I think everybody's kind of just like laying low for the moment. I expect that housekeeping will probably pick up in the new year. But the one thing that did catch my eye, again, not game adjacent, but it's the Masters of the Universe movie, the He-Man movie. You all know, if you listen to the show, that I'm a huge MOTU fan. I love He-Man. I've always loved it for 40 years. Loved it since it hit the shelves in America back in 83 or 84. I've got a pretty substantial He-Man collection. I've got shirts. I've got mugs. I've got posters. No tattoo yet, but possible. I'm not going to rule it out. So I'm a big He-Man fan, and I am pretty excited for the upcoming movie. It's supposed to be coming in 2026. Now, He-Man fans have been led around and disappointed so many times. We did get a real live-action movie back, I forget what year it was, but it was Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella. And honestly, that movie's not bad. It's not what people expected, because it's a pretty large divergence from what we thought we were going to get. Super different from the cartoons, super different from the toys. But if you take it for what it is, it's actually not bad at all. And it's kind of a spin-off of Star Wars, but with a little bit of a He-Man flavor thrown in. And I just rewatched it recently. Still pretty good. I have a new appreciation for it as a grown-up. But this new movie, from what I understand, is supposed to be much more faithful to the traditional He-Man that we all know and love, or at least I know and love. And they've talked about some of the most familiar characters are coming back. He-Man, of course, Teela, Evelyn, and they just announced a new one, and this one actually really impressed me. And this is the one that makes me think maybe it's going to happen this time, because we've had so many false starts. We've had so many promises that ended up with nothing. We've had so many hopes dashed against the rocks of despair, but this one looks like it just might happen. They have cast Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms, and I think that's a pretty inspired choice. And he's a fucking legit actor who's been in real movies. So if they've got like a name like him on board, I'm pretty stoked to think that this might actually happen. I didn't recognize the actor who they picked as He-Man. He was unknown to me. They picked Alison Brie as Evelyn, which was like very shocking to me. I did not see that coming. And the person they picked as Teela, I don't remember what her name was, but she was in a couple things. So it looks like it might actually happen, you guys. I'm a little scared. I don't want to get too excited because I don't want to be disappointed, but gosh, it might actually happen. I mean, that was pretty exciting. And dare I hope it might even be good? I mean, who knows? But anyway, picking Idris Elba, pretty big news in my mind, so we'll see what happens. All right, moving on. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot going on, but good friend John was kind enough to send over some questions, and I'll get to those literally right now. First up, he says, "What's this I hear about a Carlos Game of the Year episode?" Yes, John, you heard correctly. Now, this was supposed to be a surprise, and someone let it out of the bag. I'm not going to point fingers. It's Carlos. Carlos spilled the beans. Carlos, my friend. I didn't specifically tell him it was a surprise, so I guess that's on me for not being clear. But we were kind of talking about the potential of having him come back for the Game of the Year episode, and he got excited, and I was excited to have him back, and he let it slip. So yeah, I guess the cat's out of the bag. As long as we can get the schedules to line up, I would like to have Carlos back on the show for the Game of the Year episode. It's not going to be a regular thing. I think that with my life these days and how the show is getting recorded, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I think I record each episode these times lately in like maybe 2 or 3 different sessions, just because I'm so busy and I'm awake at certain hours and I got things going on. And so I find it pretty difficult to find enough time in a row to just do the whole show at once. So I'll like record 1 or 2 segments, and then I'll like take a pause, and then I'll do another couple segments later. And it's pretty tough. So I don't know if my schedule will line up with anybody's schedule right now. So we're going to keep it a solo show for the time being. But I thought, since it's, end of year, wrapping up 2024, Carlos hasn't been on in a while, I just figured this might be a good time for it. So yes, as long as the schedules work out, definitely planning to have Carlos on the Game of the Year episode. It'd be good to have him back. I know a lot of you folks have missed him. I know he's excited to be back, so we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed we can make it happen. Next question from John: what games are on your list of shame / did not play list for 2024? So there's like lots. It's kind of hard to put my finger on it, honestly. And I know we kind of say this every year, but this has been a really weird year for me. I've played a lot of really good games, but honestly, there hasn't really been a lot of games that really have caught my attention for like, oh, this is like a total Game of the Year contender. But having said that, there's also a lot of games that I haven't played, and yet at the same time, I feel like I've played most of the ones I wanted to, which is not something I say all the time. I know I'm sounding really wishy-washy. I'm not making any sense whatsoever. I'm rambling. Apologies for sure. But I did take a look at my list. I do keep lists because I can't remember jack shit these days, and I write everything down. So the short list of what I have not gotten around to yet, and this is not even including stuff that I want to get back to, so I'll get to that in a second, but stuff that I just didn't put enough time into so far, or maybe didn't even start. Dragon's Dogma 2, which is insane to me because I was like the world's biggest Dragon Dogma fan, but it came out at a time that I was swamped. I bought the game or maybe they sent me a code. They might have sent me a code. I don't remember, but I have it regardless. And I downloaded it and I was all ready to go, but I was too busy. And then things just kept coming out. Like we had like 100 games every week. And I just kept saying, well, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And then I just never did. So I think that's very possibly a game of the year contender for me. I just have not even started it yet, which is ridiculous. Also a huge Vanillaware fan, mostly a huge Vanillaware fan. And Unicorn Overlord came out this year, which is one that seemed like it was going to be up my alley. And I, again, have not even started it. I have the game, but have not even pushed start on the title screen. So that's one I haven't gotten to. I really want to get back to Flintlock Siege of Dawn. Now that one I did put like an hour or 2 hours into for the show. Really liked it. It was giving me just total green lights. I like the style of it, like the Souls light combat, the acrobatics, the graphics, a cool protagonist. Everything looked really good, but again, I just got really busy. It's really tough to actually finish games while you're also doing a weekly podcast where you talk about 5 or 6 games. There just isn't enough time. The other one that I think is possible that would have maybe been on my list is Metaphor Refantasio. And we talked about it a couple times here on the show, and I did put several hours into it, but like nowhere near the amount of time I would need to get really deep into it. I think I put maybe 4 or 5 hours to it total, not counting the demo that I played. And it seems good. I like it so far. I think it could be a winner for me. But again, it's just like I didn't have the bandwidth to really get in there and sink some time because I have too many other games that I'm playing right now that I really want to finish. And it's just like, this really awful, painful, heartbreaking juggling act where I can only keep so many things in the air at once. And I just dropped this one for some reason. Now, those are the things that I just really haven't even played enough time to consider, John. But I also keep a list of all the other things that I have started and that I want to come back and finish. And I'll read that for you right now. It might be interesting to you here. Hang on, let me pull that file up here. Okay, so this is going to be a much longer list. I'll just run through them real fast. And these are the ones that I have started, but that I did not finish. Okay, so we're going to go through quick. Get a piece of paper and pen if you want, because these are all really good games in my opinion. So Warhammer 40k, Rogue Trader, fucking awesome. Didn't finish it. It's really, really, really long. I got really far into it. I think I put more than 50, 60 hours into it, and there were still tons left of it. So I got to come back to it. There's also a DLC for it too. Lil Guardsman I thought was great. I got to get back to that. Rising Lords on Xbox, which was kind of problematic. Kind of a medieval sim sort of a thing. Kind of busted, and I was hoping they were going to fix it. I need to kind of just power through. So that was one I want to finish. The Pale Beyond. Oh my God. I'm like the worst person in the world. The Pale Beyond is fucking fantastic, and I got to come back to it. Have not finished it. Captain Velvet Meteor. Sanabi on Switch. King Arthur, Knight's Tale. Oh, that is like 100% my jam, and I didn't finish it. Regency Solitaire on Switch, which was incredibly fun. Welcome to Paradise on PS5. I got to get back to that. Tron Runner, didn't finish that. Broken Roads. Now that they've patched it a couple times, I should definitely get back to it. I stopped because I got glitched, and I had some issues with it, so I got to restart that now that it's fixed. Traumatorium on Switch is super interesting. Sandland on PS5. Loved the anime. Fucking great anime. And the game was fantastic too. I think it's one of Bandai's best so far. Got to get back to that. I got like 3/4 of the way into that. Slay the Princess. I've started that like 3 times. Haven't finished it. Got to get back to it. Rusted Moss on Xbox. This was a very interesting one that I don't think anybody played. Kind of a 2D Metroidvania, but also with grappling hook physics. And a really cool kind of story. I dig that one a lot. SteamWorld Heist 2. Got about halfway through. Loved it. Had to move on. Let's see. Time Melters, which is an incredibly weird, idiosyncratic, rough, janky kind of, Euro game. But it had so many awesome ideas and some really cool time manipulation mechanics. Got to get back to that. Flintlock, like I said. Let's see. Punch Club 2. Started that again. Didn't finish it. Arco, which John turned me on to. You yourself turned me on to that, John. Didn't finish it. Vampire Therapist, which is one of my front runners. I'm sure it's going to be a Game of the Year contender for me. I just need to put more time into it. Space Marine 2, I think I think I stopped literally like 1.5 levels before rolling credits on that. I got almost all the way through it. Still working on Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. Again, 2 levels from the end. Shogun Showdown, chewing my way through that. Metaphor I mentioned. Kong Survivor Instinct I was having a great time with. 63 Days. Fantastic game. in the spirit of me games, it's killer. It's absolutely my jam. I got to get back to it. Hard coded the adult trans storytelling mature game on PC. I was having a good time with that. The story is actually quite good in that. Let's see, Redacted. I didn't finish. What else? Yeah, okay. So those are the stack of stuff that I'm like, these are all great games that I simply didn't have enough raw time to finish. There's got to be more by the time the year's over, but those are the brief runners up. So I guess take note of those, and if you're looking for more games to fill out your own top 10, John, or anybody else listening, maybe check out some of those. Those are all great ones. A couple more questions from John here. Did you have any pet games you would have liked to see at the Game Awards? Honestly, no, because I don't even know what they referenced at the Game Awards. I've been disappointed by the Game Awards for ever since it's been conceived, and it's usually just seems like whatever was the biggest game this year or whatever was the most popular game in terms of like sales or something. I very rarely feel like the Game Awards ever matches up with my taste, and so I completely paid it no mind whatsoever. So I don't even know what they picked. I didn't read any lists. I just kind of like forgot it even happened because it's just not really traditionally been a thing that I've been very interested in. And John's final question, again, thank you for sending these questions in, John. Did you hear about the Indie Game Awards? Yes, I did. John says the nominations aren't so basic and mainstream or tied to sales and marketing spend. Very refreshing. Agree. And it does kind of seem to kind of fly in the face of what I just said about the Game Awards. So definitely for sure. I did check it out. I think it airs... It hasn't aired yet, has it? No. December 9th. Yes, December 19th. We've got like roughly a month until they actually like announce the winners. But there's like a load of categories. There's like, I don't know, 15, 20 categories or something. And I was looking over the list. There's a lot of these which I have taken note of and enjoyed. And there's a lot of these that I haven't even played. But like Little Guardsman was up for one for, I think, Best Debut Game. Another Crab's Treasure was up for accessibility, as was SteamWorld Heist 2. I think both of those are great. What else? Music. I don't pay attention to music. Visual design. What have we got? Crow Country. That was a cute one. Haunty, which was visually awesome, but not so fun. Plucky Squire for sure. Ultros. I know, John, that's one of your favorites, so it's great that they picked that for visual design. So there's a whole bunch of those that I think are calling out games that deserved more attention and are being made by people who really give a shit. And these are small, artisanal, crafted experiences, kind of not quite the same thing that we get on the AAA side of the spectrum. So yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by the Indie Game Awards. I think that's something I'm going to be paying attention to. I don't know that I will watch it like live or anything, but I think with what they have shown so far, it's absolutely going in a direction that I can appreciate. So thanks for bringing that to my attention, John, and bringing it to the show here. I probably wouldn't have mentioned it yet if not for you, so I am grateful to you for that, sir. All right, that was all the questions. And once again, check out Gaming in the Wild, one of my favorite podcasts out there. They've got a wonderful Discord that costs $1 to join. It's a well spent dollar. Lots of cool folks in there, a lot of personal friends, and lots of good discussions. So check that out for sure. Let's see, is that it? Yes, that's it for housekeeping. But before we crack into the main portion of the show, I do have to mention our own Discord. We have a Discord here at So Videogames. It's free if you'd like to join in and continue the conversation. Anybody is welcome to do that. Just hit me up and send me an email or grab me on any of the usual channels, and I'll let you in for free, no problem. Also, there is a So Videogames Patreon if you want to support the cost of running and hosting the show. Even $1 American helps. If you want to pitch in, you can absolutely do that over at patreon.com/the So Videogames podcast. That would be great if so. And is that it? Is that all the preamble? I think it is. Okay. All right, folks. Let's see. Starting off the show with Circle Backs, where I circle back to things I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details here. These are just quick updates to let you know if my thoughts have changed on the game for better or for worse. The only one I have right now is the same one I've had for like 19 weeks straight. Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. Like I just said a second ago, I'm like 2 levels away from the end. They're getting really hard. I haven't given up. I'm still pushing through. I really think it's cool. I like it. And that's all I got to say. I'm still working on it. And God fucking damn it, I'm going to roll credits this year. I just need like more raw time. That's my biggest challenge as a parent, as an independent contractor, as a mentor to people, as an interpreter, as all the things, podcaster, writer, all the things that I am. I just don't have enough time for all those things. And that is really the question of that has plagued humanity for millennia, right? So hopefully Kunitsu-Gami will roll credits soon, and I'll get back to you on that. Okay, let's get on to the main portion of the show here. I've got 3 games to talk about, and then I will bounce. But they're all pretty fucking good this week. I've got a kind of a murderer's row right here. Okay, first up is Loco Motive, coming to us from developer Robust Games and published by Chucklefish. Oh, and before I forget, all of the games on today's show... No, that's not true. The first two games, Loco Motive and the one I'm about to talk about next, have been provided to me free of charge by the publishers. The last game, which I will discuss, I actually bought with my own US American dollars, which is wild to me because I get so many friggin' games every week. It's stupid that I spend money on games because I got more than I can play just stuffed into my inbox. But like, real talk, this is one where the code went to our writer and I didn't pay attention to it, and I kind of missed the window for like getting in on that for free. And well, I'll get into it in a second. So anyway, 2 of the 3 games on the show today were provided to me by the publisher. Just got to say that in compliance with FCC regulations there. So just heads up on that. All right, Loco Motive. This is definitely one that people of point and clicks persuasion should pay attention to. Now, this is a really, really beautiful game. It's a comedy point and click adventure style, like kind of in the classic vein where you have a character, you walk around and you click on different things, read dialogue and get clues. The basic setup is that you are an attorney, you are an estate attorney, and you're on a train. That's where the name comes from. So you're on a train. The whole thing is shown in 2D side view. So you're inside the cars, you see a string of cars, and you get the cutaway ant farm view, and you're walking back and forth. The art style is fantastic. Extremely pleasantly cartoony and animated, very well animated. Like, the people doing the sprite work on this are magicians. They just have pulled off some really, really beautiful stuff. Very expressive, very smooth, very emotive. So I love that. Writing is pretty funny. I'm not going to say that like I'm busting a gut laughing at these, but they're pretty good. It's definitely better than the average for sure. The sense of humor is on target, and humor is really hard to do in games. So I definitely want to give props to the writers. But what happens is you're on this train and there's this old lady and you are her estate lawyer. She is going to be giving away her fortune to somebody. And at the very last minute, she changes her will. The train passes through a tunnel. The whole thing goes dark. And when the train emerges from the tunnel, she is dead and she is stabbed where she stands. And then everybody's like, gasp, what happened? And so you have to go and ultimately solve the murder. It's kind of told in a weird way, though, because you're in the train and you will certainly do a lot of walking back and forth on the train, examining items, picking up items, talking to people, so forth and so on. But you will eventually cycle through, I believe, a total of 3 different characters. Now, I haven't gotten to be all 3. I've only just kind of scratched the surface of this one. But you start out with the lawyer, and then there is, I believe, a detective, and then there's one more character. I haven't met that person yet, so I'm not sure who it is yet. But you will rotate through all 3, and apparently they each tell their own version of what happened, and so ultimately you'll be seeing the story from 3 different perspectives as you try to unravel the mystery of who actually killed her. So I think that's a great setup. I think the graphics are great, the story is great, setup is great, and if you like point and clicks, this is one that should absolutely be on your radar. Now, I will say that there's a couple things about it that just give me a little tiny bit of pause. And I don't mean this to sound overly negative, but I found it difficult to figure out like the cadence of how I want to read the dialogue. So let me back up a little bit. This is a modern game with many modern amenities, but it's kind of done in the older style. And full disclosure, like, I'm not the biggest fan of point and clicks old school style. I like modern ones where they kind of streamline everything. And what I mean by that is I like point and clicks where like you only click on things that are relevant to you, or where the dialogue is kept to a minimum. And I don't mean like I don't like the dialogue, but like I don't want to read a paragraph of dialogue about every single thing that's clickable inside a train car, like the history of apples when you click on an apple, and like where does this paper come from when you click on a piece of paper. Now Loco Motive isn't that bad. It's not as bad as that example I just gave. That's kind of a exaggeration. But I will say that it does lean a little bit more towards the old school, a little bit more than I would like. There's lots of stuff to click on the screen, and props to them also for highlighting those things. You can adjust it in the menu settings where you can not see hotspots, or you can see hotspots when you get close to them. I am definitely like a yes, please tell me what I need to click on. I don't like to pixel hunt or anything. So in each room, I feel like there's just like a lot, like too many things to click on. And many of the things are just flavor. And I get that if you're the kind of person that likes that, If you want to read little one-liners and zingers about every single thing that's on a screen, then this game is going to tickle your fancy for sure. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's like a taste thing. I don't like that because I feel like I end up doing too much reading about stuff that doesn't ultimately matter or have any relevance to the proceedings. And I just would rather just kind of get on with it in a way. Like, I'm not in a rush to get through this, but at the same time, I do kind of feel like I don't get as much out of that. Like, I'm not the kind of guy that reads item descriptions in Dark Souls. I'm not the kind of guy that wants to read about every single object that's on a screen in a screen cluttered with objects. You know what I mean? So that's kind of one thing that's like, okay, like, it's a definite choice. I get what they're going for. They're honoring the old school style, and I'm a little bit more progressive than that. So it's not like a whiff for me, but it's kind of like, okay, all right, cool. The other thing I struggled with a little bit is that every line is fully voice acted, and the voice acting is really great. So props to that. Voice acting is really hard to do well, especially with comedy. So I think they've done a great job here. But I kind of struggled with, sometimes I just want to go through quickly. Like, I read fast, I move through games quickly, and I don't want to listen to all the voice acted dialogue. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. And in a game like this, I just want to be like, okay, I have read the line, but now I want to just move ahead. And the settings don't quite allow for that exactly. I kind of had to like make a little kludgy solution to it where I would turn the text speed down and then let the line play out, and then it would cancel the text and it would kind of stop the line from whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter, but like, I just kind of wish there was a few more options as to how you would like the voice acting delivered with the text. I found a thing that worked for me and it was fine, but like, I just kind of wanted to go through it a little bit faster with less hassle and not be slowed down by listening to the voice acting. But again, it's like a preference thing. I found a thing that worked. I got around it in the settings, so it's okay. It's totally not a big problem at all. But those are really my only complaints about it. I have heard some people say that there is some moon logic to this game, and if you know about point and clicks, especially old school ones, sometimes you can have some puzzles that just like don't make any sense. I was talking to a friend of mine who was playing this game. They're further than I am, and they were like, "Oh my god, I got so stuck, I couldn't figure it out, and even after I got the solution, it didn't make a lot of sense." So I'm not there yet, and what I've seen so far is fine. There is a couple goofy things I've had to do. I'm not going to spoil anything here, but it's been okay. Like, it's been within my tolerance. But moon logic is something that will absolutely make me quit a game quickly, and I haven't hit any yet. So if I do hit some, I'll bail. But so far, all lights are basically green. So I know that was like a lot of caveats for something that I said was really good, and it is really good. So if you like old school point and clicks, you like that style of game, you like that experience, this is absolutely one you should play. Like, don't miss this. I think the animation's great, graphics are great, stories is entertaining enough. I think the writing is really sharp, voice acting's great. I mean, it's a beautiful title. And I think it's only my personal foibles that are kind of like dulling that shine a little bit, but like, not everybody is me. I get that, and that's totally fine. So if what I've described sounds like your jam, if you like point and clicks a lot, absolutely check this one out. I think it's honestly a winner for sure. That is Loco Motive, put out by Chucklefish and developed by Robust Games. All right, next up is Dungeons of Dreadrock, The Dead King's Secret. This is a game developed by a solo person, Christoph Minnemeyer, and also published by Same. So you may remember a couple years ago when the first Dungeons of Dreadrock came out. It was one of my top 10 of the year, and it was basically brilliant. That first game was kind of it had like a 16-bit Zelda-ish sort of presentation, and you played a girl who's going into a dungeon whose brother was kidnapped to be sacrificed to the big bad at the bottom of the dungeon. I may be missing some finer details, but that was basically it. And the gist of it was that you were going through 100 levels. So that sounds pretty straightforward and like a million other games on its surface. But the brilliance of the original Dreadrock was just how clever and intricate and how fresh the puzzles felt. There's such a wide variety of them in there. Like, some of them were just about observation. So maybe there was something slightly different in the room you had to notice. Some of them were about timing. Maybe there was a monster you're trying to get away from, and you just had to be very specific about your movements, and you couldn't dilly-dally even for a second. And if you did the right moves, you would escape. Sometimes there would be an item that you would have to grab, maybe from that room, but also from the room maybe one or two rooms back. And sometimes the rooms like connected with each other. Sometimes something in one room would affect another room. So there was like lots and lots and lots of little instances of cleverness, and I was just really overall impressed with Christoph's work. Just really brilliant stuff. I thought it was an amazing experience. So when I found out that he was working on a sequel, Dungeons of Dreadrock, The Dead King's Secret, I was just like over the moon. I'm very, very excited to get my hands on it. So Christoph does not disappoint. I think this is every bit as good as the first game, and it basically kind of picks up where the first game left off. Now, I will say, just full disclosure, my biggest gripe about Dreadrock so far, number 2, is that I think there's not enough onboarding at the beginning. And I actually emailed Christoph and told him about this. And I'm like, this is a great game, but I think if you haven't played the first one, when you start the game, I think it doesn't explain the story very well. There are some mechanics that I think you would be familiar with if you had played through the first game. But if you have not played the first game, you might not be hip to the way some things work, or you might not be ready for some of the expectations. And his response was, very measured and very, very sensible. I mean, he was interested in continuing to kind of push things forward for players who had already been through the first game. And I respect that. I definitely do. But I do have to wonder if people who might look into this, I don't know if everybody is like me. And when I get interested in a game, I go to the very first game and play my way forward, if I have time. That's maybe not everybody's go-to. So I think if this game is coming out, people who might not be familiar with the original Dreadrock and might want to try it, if they do, they might be a little bit lost at the beginning. It kind of starts and references things that you should remember from the first game. And if you didn't play the first game or you don't remember, you're a little bit lost. So for me, it's been a couple years since I played and I had to refresh my memory on a few things, but it all came back to me. But I think if there's any criticism of this game, and there are precious few criticisms, I think it's just that there's not enough onboarding for brand new players at the start. So I think that's just one thing to keep in mind. But beyond that, basically a similar game to the first, except this time you play a different character. You play I don't know if you're like a wizard or a monk or something like that. Like in the first one, you were kind of like a thief. You had a dagger. But this one, you have a magical staff that eventually runs out of charges and you have to discard it. But you walk a little bit differently. You have a different storyline. You're kind of communing with your Mother Superior back home mentally, and your agenda in this game, story-wise, it seems like it's happening at the same time as the first game, but you're getting a different perspective. I haven't finished the game, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but it does seem like you're crossing paths with some of the characters from the first game. So I'm assuming they happen concurrently. But in terms of gameplay, a lot of the same concepts and ideas, and I don't mean to say this is like as he ran out of ideas. I'm just saying, like, if you know what the first Dreadrock is, like I've just described, expect more of that. Like, it's not a wild divergence. He doesn't do anything out of the blue. Like, it's not all of a sudden a fighting game. It's not all of a sudden turn-based tactics or anything. It's like the same sort of extremely clever, really brilliant puzzles that will, entertain people who enjoy this sort of thing, done just like basically to perfection. So nothing wrong with continuing a good formula for sure. Now, other parts of this game I think are really good. Specifically, I want to call out the hint system. So, and again, this goes straight out to Christoph. I'm sure he's going to be listening. Man, I love you for putting in the hint system, because some of these puzzles, so far I'm like 80% of them done on my own, no problem. And they might take me a few tries. I might have to puzzle some things out or whatever. That's fine. And there's been, maybe 20% where I'm like, okay, wait, I'm stuck, or what's going on? And so in every room, you can hold down one of the buttons. I'm playing on Switch, and it's a perfect fit for the Switch, by the way. No problems whatsoever. Runs like a dream. But you can hold down one of the buttons. I think it's like R1 or something like that. And he usually gives you like at least 3 or 4 or 5 clues about how to solve the room. And they go like in progression. So like if you hold down R1 once, it'll give you like a really vague clue. Like, oh, you need to go north or something like that. And if that doesn't nudge in the right direction, just hold R1 down again, and he'll say, oh, it's like north to the left of so-and-so. And it just gets like more and more granular as you go, until eventually, most of the time, the final clue just kind of just straight out tells you what to do to progress. Now, I know some people, the difficulty whores out there will be like, rawr, but listen, you don't have to push that button if you don't want to. You can solve this all on your own. No one's forcing you to do this. So I appreciate it as someone who enjoys playing games, and I'm not really in the market for a difficulty or challenge right now. I just want fun. I have already cut my teeth on the hardest of the hard games. I've done so many impossible challenges. I've sweat so many things. I'm not in that frame of life anymore. And I don't care who knows it. If you think I'm a less of a gamer for playing on easy or for using hints, then I guess feel free to think that, but it doesn't affect me in any way. And that's kind of how this hint system works. It's there if you need it. And I have needed it a few times. But if you don't want to be spoiled or you don't want the help because you're so tough, don't push the button. It's as simple as that. I think it's the best of all possible solutions to the problem of difficulty when it comes to puzzles. And I think it's really brilliantly implemented. So cheers to Christoph for that. So I don't know what else I can say. Dreadrock is going to be one that I will guaranteed finish. I'm very much looking forward to it. I've enjoyed my time with it so far. It is equally brilliant as the first game, and I think the first game was completely brilliant. I mean, it's just like my highest possible recommendation. But I will say again, kind of circling back to my caveat, if you haven't played the first Dungeons of Dreadrock, please go back and buy that one first and play that one first. You will get more out of the second game, and I think you will learn more about how the game works. You will be hip to some of the tricks. You'll get the groove of what Christoph is doing here. And it's, I mean, you could jump into number 2 and be basically fine, but I think it just overall, start with number 1, see the story, learn the characters, learn the tricks of the trade, and then once you're done with that, and I guarantee you'll finish it, it's great stuff, go on to number 2, and you'll just appreciate it that much more. So that's really the only real caveat. I think this is a must-play if you like puzzle games, if you like great Switch experiences, and this is perfect for pick up and play. You can easily do 1 or 2 levels before you go to bed like I do, put it down, go to bed, wake up the next day, do a couple more. It's just fantastic. So highest possible recommendation for Dungeons of Dreadrock, The Dead King's Secret, and also the original Dungeons of Dreadrock. Those are both just all-timers on the Switch. Cannot recommend them highly enough. All right, last game on the show is Wild Bastards. This comes to us from developer Blue Manchu and published, I'm not sure what the split is here, but the info says it was published by Maximum Games and Modus Games, so I don't know, maybe they're doing a 50-50 thing or who knows what, but anyway, this is a fantastic experience. This was recommended to me by Jeff Ortloff, who is one of the writers at Game Critics, also all-around great guy. He reviewed this for us. He got the code, and I gave it to him, and this is the game that I bought, by the way, to clarify. And I don't go in for first-person games very often. Everybody who listens to the show, if you listened for at least a couple episodes, you probably know that. I'm just not the biggest fan of first-person stuff. Just not my jam. Nothing against it, just not for me. But every once in a while, I will play one. If there's some interesting hook or amazing art design, or, I'll do like a Cyberpunk or something like that, I'm not like, I don't never play them, but they're not my jam. Anyway, Jeff took the code and he wrote up a review, which is up now at GameCritics.com if you want to read what he had to say about it. And it just won me over, man. Like, everything he was saying about it was like, okay, shit. Think maybe I let this one slip past me, probably because my inherent prejudice against first-person shooter games. I didn't really realize what the game was about. I didn't know what else it had to offer. And so once I read what he wrote in his review, which was very favorable, by the way, I was like, fuck, I got to buy this now. And I hate spending money on games, just because, dude, just because. So I went and just paid full price for it. I think it was $35 on the PlayStation Store, and I don't regret it at all. It was worth every penny. Fantastic experience. So I think also, to be fair to myself, another reason why I kind of gave this one a pass was because Blue Manchu's previous game, I believe their most recent previous game was called Void Bastards, which was kind of like a roguelike first-person shooter set in space, and you were like convicts, and you were trying to like get resources or something. And it was okay, like it was all right, and I gave it a shot back in the day when it came out, but it didn't really hook me. I didn't finish it, and it just kind of felt like, whatever. But they clearly have been working on their formula, because Wild Bastards it's easy to see the DNA between these games, and it seems like a step forward, but they just have really done so much more to make it more approachable, to make it more fun, to make it able to be played in bite-sized pieces. I think the concept is overall better. Just everything about it is just better on every level. So what the fuck is it? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. So in Wild Bastards, you play, you're a team of outlaws in space. So you're in space, it's sci-fi, but it's also a Western. You have a group of aliens, but they all like wear cowboy hats, and they talk with like Southern accents, and they eat beans and talk about cookouts and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the setup. It's like this mishmash of genres, which is pretty cool. And you're on a spaceship, and the spaceship is apparently like sentient, but it doesn't talk to you. It's silent, but it's got a mission for you, and it's taking you from place to place, and you don't quite know what it wants. But what's happening is that along the way, you start out with 2 aliens, and then every time you go to a planet and complete a planet, you get 1 more alien added to your group. So your gang, like at its core was 13 members. 11 of them got killed somehow, and so the ship is bringing you from planet to planet to collect the bodies of your dead members and resurrect them back to life. And so you go on this intergalactic quest, and it's a mashup not just of genres but also of like gameplay genres. So when you're on the ship, you're doing like very light like team management. There is some stuff you can assign to your people. Everybody has 3 slots. You get a weapon, a piece of clothing, and then a piece of gear. You pick these up randomly because there's a very heavy roguelike element to this game. There are some roguelike elements. There's story elements, like an actual narrative, and then there's also the first-person shooter elements. And it seems like at first those 3 things don't go together, but they actually do. So like you're on the ship with your 2 starting characters. The first one is a insect lady who is like, she's got 4 arms, and she kind of looks like a spider, but she also kind of looks like a Day of the Dead celebrant. And her partner is a robot who's got slot machine rollers for eyes, and he has like luck-based powers. And so everybody in the game has a basic gun, and then they have a special ability. And most of the time when you're going around the planet, you will have 2 characters that you choose on your own to go out like in a scouting party. So you're assigning gear to these people. Then you go to a screen, which is very much like a Slay the Spire screen. Again, we really owe so much to Slay the Spire because they just really put indelible marks all over the roguelike genre. I mean, everything I feel like modern current roguelikes do in some way or another, I feel like gets back to Slay the Spire. And it's funny too, just like side tangent, I've talked about this before, but I remember when Slay the Spire was in development, I believe the developers are from Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, and I saw their game like way early when they brought it to the Indie Expo at PAX, and I remember looking at it and thinking like, "Geez, this thing is rough as shit. Like, this is terrible looking." But they kept bringing it back. I saw it a couple years in a row at PAX, and boy, it's just crazy to think that I saw it in such a small, early, rough state. Didn't get it. Because I was just seeing it too early, right? I wasn't getting the big picture, and I didn't understand what they were doing. Eventually, the game launches, and I forget all about it because I'm like, oh, it's that janky-ass game I saw from PAX, whatever. And then I heard people talking about it like it was the best thing since sliced bread, and I'm like, is that the same game? Are we talking about the thing that I saw and I moved on from because it looked terrible? And I blew my fucking mind when I finally saw the finished thing. I'm like, oh, damn, this is that same game. And then I realized what they were going for, saw the whole picture, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is pretty brilliant. And I guess it just goes to show, like, you know, a lot happens in development, and you can go from a really rough skeleton of just jank to something that basically revolutionizes the entire genre. And I kind of wonder, gosh, I should see if I'd interview them or something, because I kind of wonder what they think after working on that game for so long, and just like now, they've kind of set the standard in so many ways in this genre. I wonder how they feel about that, or like what, if they thought that was going to happen, like what their expectations of the game were. That seems like a really good interview to do. I haven't done it. Maybe someone else has done it, but maybe they're local. Maybe I'll hit them up. Who knows? Anyway, so if you know what the map looks like in Slay the Spire, basically you take your team to this map, and there's all these nodes on it. And in fact, this game, Wild Bastards, has 2 levels of map. You've got your galaxy map, so you can see in the galaxy the nodes where you want to go, and it tells you what items are there. Power-ups for your guys, money, random items. Some of them are like danger zones or whatever. And so you can choose where you want to go. And then once you get to one of those nodes and you land your team of at least 2 people on it, then there's another map on the ground that shows like what obstacles are there. And there will be like bad guys running around. There's treasure on the ground. There's like heal stations on the ground. There's all sorts of stuff. So you get like basically 2 levels of the Slay the Spire style map to go through. The space and then on the planet. And then as you go through, you move around. You got limited movements. And then when you're done with your movements, the enemies go. You look for where you want to go, looking for the thing you want to get, and you've only got a certain number of turns, because if you take too long on the planet, these really tough guys show up. They're called princes, I think. And so it'll be like when you start a map, it'll be like, oh, 5 turns until so-and-so shows up. And so you've got 5 turns free and clear to kind of do whatever you want. You'll have to contend with like the local bad guys, but they're all just kind of low-level dudes, and you'll just like fight them off. But when the prince shows up, then he's like the next level of bad guy. And if you take too long, like let's say, for example, like you kill the first prince, you fight him and whatever. You're like, okay, so you bought yourself like 3 more turns on the planet. Then like the second one shows up, and then if you take that guy out, then you buy yourself a couple more turns, and then like the next one shows up. Eventually, you get to like the boss of the princes. I don't think they call him the king. I think he's called something else, but he's basically invulnerable. So like if you're on a planet so long that he shows up, like you're in deep shit. So there's a little bit of time pressure, risk reward there. How long do you stay on a planet before you bounce? How long is it going to take you to get out of there safely? And then you collect your power-ups, improve your guys, go back to the ship, and then so forth and so on. At the end of each planet, you unlock a new character, and I think the most I've ever had so far is, I want to say, 9. I think there's ultimately 13, and I've had 9, and you can choose between, anytime you go down the planet, pick 2, and they can work together. Sometimes you're sending out 2 teams of 2, and so you'll kind of like go over the map with those guys. So that's all really good. I love the art design in this game. The art design is excellent. It's like really, really, really on point. All of the characters are different. There's like a Cthulhu-looking guy who's got 6 shooters. There's a casino robot. There's like the spider lady. There's a ghost that throws dynamite. There's a snake that has a lasso. There's, who else? There's a robot who has a sniper rifle. There's like all sorts. There's like a Roswell alien, like a gray alien. And they're all fully voiced. And they got like cool powers. And half the fun of this game is just like mixing and matching the abilities of the characters and trying to find like good synergies between people. And so that's really great time. And as you go, like the roguelike part comes back in because you will find different power-ups. And so you can augment your guys in different ways. And that's how they level up. When you find these cards, give them to your guys, and they'll be like, oh, plus 20 damage, plus 100 life, stuff like that. But then they also get these really neat effects like can run 3 times faster on the map, so you can get a lot more done. Some of them can jump like 5 times as high and have no fall damage. Some of them can heal themselves when they kill enemies and stuff. And it's all just kind of randomized. So you get your same core abilities, but like each character eventually develops into somebody specialized according to how you like it, which I think is a really nice touch, a good implementation of the roguelike. But it's a blend of more than just that, though, because narrative actually comes into play, which is something notoriously hard for roguelikes to pull off. So what happens is you've got your basic story of the gang trying to get back together, the sentient ship trying to do something for you or take you to a place. But then along the way, you'll get lots of little discussions between each of the gang members. And they'll also like each other or not like each other based on what happens. So sometimes they will be buddies. And if you're buddies with two people in specific, when you have those 2 buddies together on a planet, they will back each other up. So like if one of your buddies gets in trouble, the other one will come help. They'll like throw them a power up, or they'll attack the other guys or something like that. And sometimes they'll fall out because they'll have an argument, and those 2 guys or girls or aliens of any non-determinate gender will not be able to work together. They'll hate each other, and so you cannot choose those 2 if you need to take them down to a planet. So there is another strategic layer there of kind of team management of like, oh, I really want to take Roswell down, and I want him to work with the judge, but they hate each other right now, so I can't choose them. If I choose one, the other guy's going to bounce, and so I've got to remix my strategies, remix my teams. Kind of keeps it fresh. And when you're actually on the planet, when you're in a team of 2, you can switch between 2 people. So let's say, for example, you've got your snake with the lasso, and you've also got like the casino robot who's got a shotgun. Depending on the situation, if you come up against like one particular guy, you're like, oh, I think the lasso is going to work against this guy. You can change into the snake, rotate him up, and you can attack with him. And then if he takes some damage and you need to like swap him out, you can hit a button, change into the casino robot, and they just go back and forth. So it's basically like having 2 complete loadouts at your disposal, and you switch back and forth. They've each got their own life bar. They've each got their own special meter and stuff like that. So having those 2 gives you a little micro strategy on the ground to be able to kind of go back and forth and mix and match. Do you want to bring the guy that throws dynamite? If you do, that's great for groups. It's not great for single people. Who do you bring along to compensate for the single attackers? Or if you're going to go up against some coyotes, but they don't look like coyotes. They're called coyotes, but they look like aliens. Those guys attack en masse, so you need something that shoots really quickly. You can bring like the priest who's got the chain gun, but if you go up against like an armored guy, that doesn't really work so well. So you need something one-on-one. Maybe bring the sniper guy for that. So you're thinking on your feet all the time. And there's like little events that'll happen. Bad guys will pop up, or sometimes something will go wrong, and you'll have a guy that you didn't plan to have, or sometimes one of the guys you thought you have has a problem with another character, so you can't use him. And there's all sorts of little team dynamics going on. But the art style is fantastic. All the characters are really interesting looking. The world is very minimal and neon and flat shaded. And all the characters, I think, are 2D sprites. But it looks fantastic. I think the art director should really be commended. I think this game looks really, really on point. It's very attractive looking. It's very easy to read. I think the legibility of the screen is great. And I think the powers are great. The voiceovers are strong. And overall, the ability to... Gosh, I'm getting off track here. Sorry, I'm so excited about this game. I keep like jumping from topic to topic. ADD in action here, folks. But getting back to the narrative, I forgot to mention the thing that I like about it is that there is an overall story. So most of the time when you play a roguelike, you're just doing runs or whatever. And it's very rare that you'll come across a game that does try to incorporate an actual story. So they do here. The characters have discussions with each other. They talk about their situation. They're ultimately working towards where the ship is trying to bring them. And then stuff happens along the way. I'm not going to spoil anything, but like you are working towards an end goal, which I really appreciate. So even though it's a roguelike, if you die, you know, go back to the level previous and start over, that sort of thing. But you're still building things up. You're collecting money. You're building your guys up, having that permanence of progression. And then ultimately you're going to try to roll credits, not just about run-based stuff all the time. And I do appreciate a run-based game, but I do like having an endpoint as well. So, oh man, I feel like I was all over the place on this one because I feel like there's so much to talk about, and I really like this one a lot. I'm very, very, very up on it. So hopefully the mess I just vomited in your ear will make some kind of sense. But take it from me, I think this one is really one to watch. I don't see a lot of people talking about it. I think people are kind of sleeping on it right now, which is, I guess, kind of understandable. It kind of came out of nowhere, and there's a lot of games out right now, and we are like deep in the end of the year territory. So I think people are already like writing up their game of the year list or the top 10 of the year, and this one just came out. So I think Wild Bastards is in a bit of a pinch, but I really hope to bring it to people's attention. You know, if anything I've said in my misguided ramblings has caught your ear, please check it out. Even if you don't really go in for first-person shooters, even if you don't think you're really a fan of roguelikes, or maybe you didn't care for Void Bastards that much, just give it a shot. These developers have really crafted something very entertaining, very playable, very addicting. Every time I put it down, I want to just get right back to it. It's just everything about it is really great. I don't think I really even have any criticisms of it so far. I mean, I think every once in a while when I'm trying to jump, I'll get caught on a bush or something, but it's like, it's so minor. I feel silly even bringing it up. It's just nothing about it really rubs me the wrong way. I'm just having a great time with it. And in fact, I think I'm more than halfway through the campaign. This is the one that keeps pulling me away from Kunitsu-Gami, which I need to go back and finish also. But Wild Bastards is the shit. It's really, really good. I think it's a great blend, a wonderful smoothie of various ingredients that just, it doesn't seem like it should work, but it really works. It's beautiful. Controls great. Great characters. Everything about it is just fucking great. I don't know what else I can say. It's just great, great, great. So big thumbs up to Wild Bastards. Having a blast with it, and I bet you probably will too. All right, that was the last game I was going to cover this week on the show, but superfan Ron has jumped into the So Videogames Discord, and he gave me some questions right before I wrapped. So Ron, good on you, sir. You got in right under the wire before I wrapped up this episode. A couple questions here that I can answer really quickly before we go. So Ron says, I might be too late with these, but here are my questions. First question, are there any games that had a huge disparity between what you expected and what you felt? Maybe a AAA game looked great and fell flat, or maybe one looked boring and was great. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, I mean, this happens to me like on the reg, like a lot. Either way, both ways. As a game critic, I go through a lot of games. I think right now I can take a look. So let me just give you an example. I can't go back like to the annals of time, but let's look at 2024. So in 2024, so far, I've played 234 games, which is a lot. And, I've had my ups and downs with all of those. But I will specifically answer your question with stuff from just this year. I could go back to like the beginning of time. I'm not going to do that. So let's say, for example, one that I thought looked boring but turned out great, like I just talked about, Wild Bastards. I had written that one off. Didn't really care for the first game that much. Jumped in, and holy cow, it's one of my favorite games of the year for sure. Another one that I thought looked like really dull and boring was The First Descendant. That's the small group, kind of like Warframe-like, that has characters that look like pop idols with super butts on them. And it looked just kind of boring, but it was free to play, and I gave it a shot. And there was so much Warframe DNA in there, which I love Warframe. I'm like, holy shit, this is like really fun to play, and I can just jump in from, square one and kind of build up. And my wife and I played together. We put like hella time into it, and we're still playing it now, actually. So that's one that really caught me by surprise. And there's been a lot of, so many games, I can't even begin to describe how many games that I think look boring, but I give them a shot and they end up being really good. So let me give you some opposite examples. Games that I think are going to be great, and then they turn out to be just not my thing. Fall flat, as you say, Ron. So looking at games from this year, I know this one's going to kill some people, but Road Warden, oh my gosh, I had the worst experience with Road Warden. It looked exactly like my jam. I love visual novels. I love like the Witcher style kind of world thing. I like to read, and this just seemed like so much like my thing. So many people said it was like the best ever, and I jumped into it, and it put me to sleep every single time I played, and I had a hard time remembering where things were and what was happening. It was too much in my head, or it wanted to be too much in my head, and I could not keep up with it, and it lost me, man. I could not power through it. Even when I tried to just force it and just force myself to get further, could not do it. So that was a surprise to me. Also, Rise of the Ronin was a big flop for me, which was surprising. I loved like Neo from Team Ninja, and they made this game, and I'm like, well, what could possibly go wrong with like a Neo style game set in an open world from Team Ninja? They really hit it out of the park. But boy, they did not understand how to build that game. They simplified the combat a little bit too much. All the stuff to do in the world was like absolute cookie cutter. Once you had done one district, you had basically seen them all, and it was just like repetition. Everything about it was just flat. The story was terrible. I just was really surprised. And ironically, that was one that I paid full price for too, because I wanted to support the team, and that was just a regretful decision on my part. The last one that I'll say right now is Darkest Dungeon 2. Darkest Dungeon number 1, one of my favorite games in history. One of my favorite games of all time. I spent so much time in Darkest Dungeon. Played it like every night for like a year. Put like hundreds of hours into it. Did everything. Unlocked everything. Got all the items. Beat all the bosses. Made $1 million just for fun, just because I could. And it was like one of my favorite experiences ever as a gamer, ever. So you would think that Darkest Dungeon 2 would be absolutely my jam. And boy, I couldn't get out of that fast enough. I guess I applaud the team for trying to do something different, but honestly, I don't think I wanted anything different. I think I just wanted more Darkest Dungeon, and they did so many significant changes to the formula. I just didn't feel the same. It just didn't, I don't know. I just nothing about it stuck with me, which is really heartbreaking to me. So that was one that was such a surprise. I was all ready to go, like so hard on that one, and it just did not connect. So there you go. There's the answers to your first question. Your other question here's what you say. You say you've talked a bit before about NDAs and other contracts you have to agree to in order to receive early access to a game. Are there any weird or funny things you've heard of or signed, or things that people unfamiliar with the process might be surprised by? Well, I think most people are vaguely familiar with NDAs, which means non-disclosure agreement, and they are certainly in the game sphere. They're also in lots of other things that I do too. I end up working with a lot of confidential stuff in my regular job, my non-games job as well. So I have a lot of NDAs that I work with. But the ones in games, I mean, I think they're pretty straightforward. Nothing really funny about them, but maybe something that people might not know is that depending on the platform, you can have more or less restrictions. PC, they might ask for like, I think I've had sometimes people ask for like my IP addresses, which is really feels invasive and intrusive. We don't do those very often. Sometimes if you do like Xbox, they'll want your gamer ID, and they'll also want your console identification number, because they want to look you up to see exactly how much you've played and what your settings are, and like all sorts of stuff, data they can get from you, which again feels very intrusive to me, and I do not like to do those ones. I only did it. The only time that I personally did one of those ones where I had to give all the info away was for the Elden Ring DLC Erdtree. And I super, super regretted doing it afterwards. If you are a longtime listener of the show, you may remember that I had asked them for a code. They said they were going to send me one, and then they didn't for whatever reason. I ended up buying Erdtree with my own money, but because I was on the PR list and they had all my console info, they had me blacked out. That's to prevent any leaks, accidental leaks, or people, breaking street data or something like that. So they had put all the privacy restrictions on my Xbox without ever actually giving me a code. And so what happened was I couldn't play with my wife or my son because I was sandboxed all by myself, and I had to wait until the DLC actually came out for real before my console was back to normal. So that felt like somebody taking away control of my console for no reason. They didn't give me the content they said they would. They didn't keep their side of the bargain. And so I felt like it was really unjust that they had like crippled my Xbox like that. I did not appreciate that very much. But generally we don't do those ones because they feel like they're too intrusive. Sometimes they'll tell you to turn on all your privacy settings, and they'll check sometimes too. Like they'll be like, make sure that all your friends can't see what you're playing. Make sure that you're not auto uploading anything to your friend channels and stuff like that. So sometimes you got to like tweak settings in your box that you might not think about. The weirdest thing that I think has happened in recent time, and I can't even remember what game it was, but it was Black Myth Wukong. That's the one. I'm sure you probably remember the controversy about the NDAs, where it's a Chinese company and they were saying as part of receiving code, you couldn't say anything disparaging about the Chinese government. We should not talk about any inflammatory topics, including the feminist agenda and all sorts of shit like that. And I'm like, that to me was like an instant no. So we didn't sign up for that. I refused to comply with that one. There was also another game, which honestly I can't remember what it was, another Chinese company, I believe, and they were like, oh, as part of the NDA, you can't say anything derogatory about the game. And that was one that really made my hackles stand up. And I'm like, are you telling me we can't do criticism? We can't give you like a bad score? And they're like, no, we just don't want you like slagging the game or hate playing the game like an excessive manner. They're like, we're open to criticism, and if you give the game a low score and justify it, that's totally fine. We just don't want people to like, like some of those people on YouTube where they'll put up a video and they like hate the game from the get-go and they just like just bash it really hard. And I'm like, okay, well, I get that, but also you've got to be careful about how you word that. And also, I don't know how much you can limit that. I mean, maybe they can do it now in Trump's America, now that things are different. But, before Trump was elected, we still kind of vaguely believed in freedom of speech, I guess, sort of. And so that to me was a little bit sketchy. So we worked it out with that particular publisher. But yeah, I think things are different if you're a YouTuber. But as far as game reviews go, nothing really too crazy, nothing really too outlandish, nothing nonsensical like, deliver a bag of only green M&Ms to the lamppost on 34th Street in order to get your code or anything like that. But you do have to be careful with it, though. People are pretty upset if you ever break street date. If it's a little accident or something, that's fine. And most sometimes they'll know when it's an accident. But if you are like, dropping videos or spoilers ahead of time to get cred or something, they come down pretty hard on that. So we have been very careful at Game Critics over the 20-ish plus years that we've been in business. What year is it now? It is 24, so 25 years that we've been on the internet. We've only broken embargoes maybe like 2 or 3 times, and those were purely on accident. Most of the time it's something like we mixed up a date, like we thought it said the 13th but it was the 18th, just like a misreading of something, and then we'll take it down right away. Or maybe we'll like auto schedule a review to go up on a certain time and it goes up a couple hours early. Like one time we broke embargo by I think 4 hours because there was like a time difference in time zones, and so we fixed that right away. So like though, like accidents happen, like no one has a perfect record, but it's really clear to see like when you're doing it for cred and when you're doing it just like as an oopsie. So oopsies are recoverable. Doing it for cred is not recoverable. But overall, I think it's pretty much how you expect it to be, other than just, sometimes you got to give up your privacy to get those codes, and sometimes it's worth it, sometimes not. So there you go. All right, Ron, thank you very much for the questions. Hopefully I answered those in a coherent manner. And with that, the game portion of the show is officially done. But like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right, folks. It's time for the TV and movie roundup. This week, talked before about G.I. Joe Renegades. It's the cartoon from 2010 where they remix the G.I. Joe formula and take a handful of Joes, put them on the run. They've been framed for a crime they did not commit. And it's very much like the A-Team if you know what that is. If you don't, Google it, check it out. I'm about halfway through the series right now, and it's excellent. It is absolutely excellent. Great writing. I love the remix of the characters. I love that the Joes are kind of on the run and they don't have the resources. People think they're bad guys, and so they're doing their best to fight Cobra while on the back foot. People think Cobra is this multinational, like benevolent conglomerate, and it could be further from the truth. The characters, I think, are just really great. They spend a lot of time on character moments, and it's just really, really awesome. I strongly recommend it just as a show. Like, I don't think you have to like G.I. Joe to like this show. I think it's a really great cartoon. 26 episodes altogether, only one season, which is a shame. And I believe I mentioned this last time, but the show actually ended, the producer said, because they were focusing... I'm paraphrasing, by the way. The producer said something along the lines of, we were spending too much time on the stories, and we were not... Our art style and our storytelling style was not conducive to making characters which were easily translatable to action figures. And that's very true. I posted some pictures of the figures on my Instagram. I'll post some more soon. By the time that you're hearing this, there'll probably be a couple more pictures up there. But The figures that Hasbro turned out were butt-ass ugly. They were really, I mean, and that's not the show's fault. I think the show has a very realistic take on their character designs, which is cool, and I like it. Very anime style, even. But Hasbro failed to capture the juice of the cartoon. The toys they put out were really low quality, shabby quality. They were ugly, and I just like, ugh. I bought them because I think it's cool to have a memento of the show like that, but honestly, they're pretty crap figures. So anyway, G.I. Joe Renegades is fucking awesome. Check that out. I really like it a lot. Staying on the G.I. Joe tip, we just watched one of the movies, Snake Eyes Origins. Snake Eyes is the silent ninja of the G.I. Joe team who is clad in all black, and he doesn't talk, and no one knows what he looks like because he's supposed to be kind of disfigured under there. This is the movie version of his origin. And I will say that in that respect, if you take it as the origin of Snake Eyes, it is a pile of horse pebbles. It's awful. It doesn't really follow the storyline of what the G.I. Joe fans know. It diverges crazy far away from like what we expected. And I think in that sense, it's just it's just not good. But I will say, as a movie, if you like action, martial arts, ninja stuff, like, you know, crazy stunts, like, I thought it was pretty fun. It was a fun movie just on its own, but I had to remind myself, like, this is not a G.I. Joe movie, even though it is. I'm like, this is not Snake Eyes' origin, even though they were telling me it was. Like, if you just take it for like a martial arts film, pretty good, pretty fun popcorn film for the afternoon. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was great. There's all sorts of like mystic stuff in there and cool action. But was it Snake Eyes? Fuck no. Was it G.I. Joe? No. But good movie. So I guess take that for what it's worth. Keeping on the TV tip, my wife and I just started watching a new series. Well, okay, not a new series, new to us anyway. It's called The Murdoch Mysteries. It's a Canadian program which has been running for 10 or 11 years. It's a really fun watch. If you like detective shows, murder mystery shows, like Formula, you know, Murder of the Week formula type stuff. In this one, it's set like at the turn of the century, like late 1800s, early 1900s, and they're in Canada, and Murdoch is a detective, and they're all like kind of old school detectives, and he goes around on a bicycle solving mysteries where people get killed in like old time Toronto or whatever. And that part is cool. Like the costumes are cool. For the backgrounds, they take old-timey photos and kind of superimpose them on the TV screen, and they put the characters in front of them sometimes for a neat little effect. I think that really looks kind of neat. But the thing that's really cool about it is the characters develop nicely. You can start to see like some of the attitudes of the time change over the course of the episodes, but also they develop a lot of like forensic techniques that we take for granted in the modern day, but back then they were brand new. So like in one of the very earliest episodes, they talk about finger marks. And some of the cops are like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, oh yeah, I just read about it. It's brand new. If people touch something and they've got oil in their fingers, like natural skin oil, you can put powder on it. And then these are individual. And they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. We haven't heard of this. And so they start doing finger marks on the show. And later on, they start doing like a rudimentary blood test. And the coroner who's there, the medical examiner, they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And the dude's like, I just read it in a book. It's brand new. And if you take this specific chemical and put it in this blood, it'll tell you if it's human blood or animal blood. And, you know, these are all based in fact. Like, of course, these are all techniques that we use today. But like back then, they're really sprinkling in some fact about how people discovered these things, how they use these things, how they came about. And seeing these things is just really cool. It's like half the fun of the show. Like when they invent a rudimentary flashlight, it's like as big as a fucking suitcase. The dude has like this giant like 3x3 suitcase with a Horkin lamp in the middle of it. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's a nighttime lantern. That's amazing. And he's like, yeah, here it is. And it's shit like that is really funny. And it's a really interesting twist on the, you know, police procedural, you know, like you've seen Law and Order or any of those, you know, Murder of the Week or Dead Body of the Week or whatever, CSI kind of stuff. So it's kind of like that, but just the old-timey twist and the discovery of the science is just a real treat. I think it's full of laughs. And I will say the cast is great too. They started out a little stiff, but they found their groove pretty quickly and were really kind of like developing a fondness for the whole cast, from the irascible chief to the surprisingly funny supporting constable and the love affair between the medical examiner and the chief investigator and stuff. It's good stuff. Murdoch Mysteries is pretty good stuff. As for movies, we watched Jeepers Creepers 2. We watched number 1 last week. Check that episode for more. This was done by the same director, same writer, same basic team. And this takes place right after the original movie. So it's like, I think a week later or something like that. So if you watch them back to back, it just flows from one into the other. This is a pretty neat one. It was about the Creeper, who is the monster of the Jeepers Creepers series, who's kind of like a demon, basically. He's on this rampage through this like small Midwestern town. And these kids are coming back from a basketball championship game. He stops their bus, he disables the bus, and then they're stuck in the middle of this cornfield. And the whole movie is about these kids trying to like avoid the demon and survive, and they keep going to the bus and they're trying to run away and they can't. And the whole thing just was pretty good. Like, it was just really fun, and I think it was really good for blending so well with the first film. I believe there's one more, Jeepers Creepers 3, which was done by the original writer-director, and then there's, I think, a fourth one, which was kind of like a reboot. So I think we enjoyed these two enough that we're going to go and watch the third one. Again, like I said last episode, Jeepers Creepers ended up being a very different film than I thought it was going to be. But I do dig these kind of monstery, semi-funny horror movies. It's got a good vibe, good tone, good action. So it's like kind of cheesy in all the right ways. And I think the Creeper is kind of a gross monster, which works. And it's just good times. So if you like semi-camp horror movies, I think Jeepers Creepers is a good series. Last movie I'm going to mention here, Alien Romulus, just came to Hulu/Disney Plus if you've got the upgraded version. Did not see it in theater. We just rented it, or downloaded it last night. Rented it. What is this, Blockbuster? Jeez, showing my age here. We downloaded it last night, and it was pretty good. I wasn't sure what to expect. I haven't seen an Alien movie for quite some time. I skipped all of the Prometheus ones that were going on. I didn't see any of those, but this was good. It was. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's about a girl on one of the Weyland-Yutani like resource planets, toiling away, throwing her life away for the company. She is with her friend, who is a synthetic person, and then they come up with a plan to get themselves off-world to a place where they can live free. And since it's an alien movie, I guess you can guess what happens. Things go sideways, and I'll just stop talking there. But I will say, the guy who plays the alien, I don't know what his name is, but he did a great job. I thought he did a wonderful performance, like a standout performance. Really, really liked the job he did. He kind of made the movie for us. And I think overall, pretty classic alien action. There's definitely nods to previous entries in the series. There's a few camera shots that are going to look very familiar. There's a line or two that are going to seem like callbacks. So they're definitely playing up some nostalgia. But I think that's okay. We haven't had a good alien movie for a while, as far as I know. No one's told me to watch any of the other ones I missed out on. And this one takes place between Alien 1 and Alien 2, so the timeline works pretty well. I think it kind of fits in there, no problem. Some of the special effects I thought were great. They do a mix of CG and practical effects. Practical stuff was good, and the CG stuff they did for some of the space shots was awesome. Some of the stuff they do just like really was quite breathtaking. So good job. I'm a little bit mixed on the last like 10-15 minutes of the movie. Again, not going to spoil it, but they do something in this movie that I'm not a big fan of. If you want to know what it is, you can hit me up on the Discord. I'll tell you, or we have a little bit of a discussion going about it right now. And some of the spoilers are blacked out, so you can come check it out if you want to. So it didn't ruin the movie for me by any chance, or by any means, I mean, but it wasn't what I would have done. And in fact, if the movie had ended 15 minutes earlier and just left out that last chunk, I would have been totally fine with that. I think that would have been just a fine film. Would have liked it very much. And I didn't dislike it, but I don't know. It kind of seemed like they were maybe trying to check all the boxes of like every single Alien movie that had come before. They were definitely like kind of name checking different concepts and different things from earlier Alien movies. And the stuff that they were name checking in the last 15 minutes I could have done without. But didn't ruin the movie for me. I still think it was good. Definitely would give it a thumbs up. Definitely like a worthy addition to the Pantheon. And we liked it. We liked it overall. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, I would love for you to leave a review, share the show on social media, and most important of all, please recommend So Video Games to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. Also, again, if you'd like to help support the show and support the cost of running the podcast, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Even $1 is greatly appreciated. If you want to join our Discord, that is absolutely free of charge. And as always, I would love to get your questions and comments. Hit me up in the Discord or email me directly, sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach me on social media. And I gotta say, I don't think you can find me on Twitter anymore. A lot has happened in the last week or two. And last episode, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know about Twitter anymore. And now I think I'm still there. I'm not going to cancel my account, but I'm not checking it as much. It's kind of a shit show right now. it seems to be just like right-wing nut jobs and a bunch of like paid advertisements. I think most of the cool people have left, and they're all on Blue Sky. So my Blue Sky fucking blew up this week. I got so many new followers, and I made so many new friends on Blue Sky. So that's really where I think I'm going to start calling home from this point forward, or these days, whatever. So yeah, don't look at me on Twitter, but come find me on Blue Sky for sure. And if you want to see some of my action figures or talk about that kind of stuff, you can find me on Instagram as well. Same handle no matter where you go. It's my name, BradGallaway. All A's, no O's. And that's going to do it for episode 416. Thank you again for joining me here on the So Videogames podcast, and I'll see you next week.